my bike is under his front wheels, and I'm in the air looking at the tops of the trees. I hit the ground, and the first thing that came to me was, I got to see my mother before I die.
Oh,
And
gosh.
I got up and I went to walk towards my house that I could see in the distance. And instantly, everything was taken away from me. I fell backwards. The second my body hit the ground, I'm out like Peter Pan. I'm flying around through the air, and I'm watching my mother screaming hysterically, running towards my lifeless body. And I got to float around and watch this whole thing, put me in the ambulance that rushed me to the hospital. And I was just floating around watching this, watching her heart pour out. I can't touch her. I cannot communicate with her, but I can watch her just mourning the death of me.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Live the Call. Before we dive into the next episode, I just want to share something with you. This conversation with Sanqing was incredibly powerful. We talked about everything. We went way back to talk about his awakening story, all the way back to when he was a kid. And we dive through the eternal self, what it truly means to be human, and the deep wisdom that comes from living in alignment with spirit. We had the best time. I just love his energy. I think you're going to really enjoy our energy back and forth. But we had a little Zoom glitch. So when I recorded, it only captured San's video, not mine. So you'll hear my voice, but you won't see me on camera. And while I love sharing face-to-face conversations with you, I also know when something's really good and it's a really valuable conversation, I have to share it. I'm going to honor the energy of this conversation and this transmission and bring you it exactly as it is. So this is the beginning of many conversations with San. This is part one of what I know is going to be a multi-part journey. We've already recorded the second conversation, and we're going to journey through his story, his teachings, and his beautiful presence. So trust me, what you're about to hear is worth every moment, and I hope that you enjoy it. Let's dive in. Today, I want to welcome to Live the Call my new friend, my new BFF, Taoist master Sanqing. And he's a powerful healer and a channel and a Taoist priest with over 30 years of experience. And he's helping people awaken to their true essence. And he and I have recently connected and we've been having a blast just getting to know each other. And I really couldn't wait to have you on the show and just share your story. You have, from what I've heard, the little tidbits here and there, an amazing journey that goes around and this way and that way. And you've helped so many people and you've been doing this for a really long time. So I want to welcome you and just give you so much love. But I'd like you to share your journey of finding who you are and how you're helping people now.
Well, back at you, bestie. You fill me with love, and this is what we're experiencing right now,
Yeah,
which is a union. And
totally.
that's really the essence of, I think, everyone's message. It should be. I think it'll get there eventually, but this is really the potency that we're embodying right now is what's going on. So anyone that's listening to this conversation
Feels it.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an interesting path. There's always an end run to somewhere,
Yeah.
a lightning moment, a road bump, some way to get to a greater sense of self. And I'm not an exception.
Right.
I had a very colorful childhood that was, created from really what most people call dysfunction, really. I mean, an abandoned mother with a newborn at the age of 8 months, from
Wow.
a man that just didn't see the sense of value for life or their own child. And so that should have broken anyone, but actually I never really felt the rough side effects of that. At the age of 4, I started to meld my own reality because I was left in a position where most of the time I was entertaining myself, where I would come to understand that I could see through walls, people, objects, and not being limited by a parental oversight. And my mother's only narrative was one thing: if you can think it, it can be created. And
Wow.
anything you put your mind to, anything is possible.
You remember seeing through walls at 4?
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah. See through walls, through people. And, that was my entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine these days there would be far more oversight from three-letter organizations. But back in those days, there was no oversight. It's like your kid could be left alone and it's completely okay. You're not going to do
Yeah.
20 years in jail.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
that was an oversight from my mother, but there's a different world
different.
order. I mean,
Yeah.
at the age of 6, I could literally jump on a bus and go into the city by myself. That was absolutely normal.
Mm-hmm.
I have 6 kids of my own. I wouldn't let them out of my sight.
No. Yeah, it's a different world. Where did you grow up?
Sydney.
Okay. So, yeah, when I was little too, we used to walk everywhere, do everything, be out all day, come home when the sun went down and nobody asked you where you were. You just came home and you ate somewhere else. Like it was a different world. So, jumping on a bus and seeing through people. Did your mom know that you were doing those things?
No, she was more caught up in survival mode.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
quite
She was
frankly,
busy.
that was on the menu for me as a 4-year-old to be very present, to recognize that I may or may not have food tomorrow. I may not have a roof over my head. It's all determined by how instinctual my mother was at survival, because women in those days were not valued. Her being a single parent, society they weren't welcoming her with open arms to create her new reality. So she had to go out and take it, which was in the form of academia. Got a bunch of masters in this and that and something else, but that was the focus of attention, which created a movement in those days, which we refer to as a very colorful part of history. It was called feminism. She was a radical feminist.
Wow.
So play it. I sat at the table of 20 women and 50 flasks of red wine, and we're talking about Rumi and philosophy and all the exciting things that could be capturing your mind through that time in history that was not fought with another directive where they were manipulating your mind too much. You really had time to discover. If you were attempting to advance your education, you could really find some interesting things going on. And so that's what I sat at the table at for my whole childhood. So I was around this incredible yin energy all the time. And with that, I know it activated in what we refer to as yin eyes, and that embodiment, so that directly accessed all the sensory perceptions that I teach people, which is clairvoyance, mediumship, channeling. It was very natural because I wasn't met with any resistance, and I was being constantly given this, I never really sat there and went, I don't have a dad, but actually I've got like 30 moms and a mother that is really about wanting to discover more about herself. So that really was nurturing, and I believe it had a huge fundamental, because at face value, you look at me and someone would assume that I'm extremely young. I can play into any frequency at will. And that's just part of the mastery. That's part of the embodiment. That's part of how you and we meet as one. That's how our bond went beyond words, and instantly it was familiar. Yeah. More than familiar. It was like, holy moly, we have come home. I bond a lot with yin energy. Like one of my sister, equivalent to my sister, is oh my goodness, I'm having blank right now.
It'll come.
Just like I am literally. Oh, hang on. That's it.
It's coming down. It's coming down. It's forming. It's forming a thought. I see the letters.
I'm actually looking at the need for interruption from Gong, which is one of my teachers, who's ushering me in a direction that is unnecessary, but I appreciate it. It's not like we're having to. He's like a keeper of all the energy within this sacred space. It's So I have Gong, Gong 1, 2, we 2. There's 9 celestial dragons that are constantly interacting with all the sacred dust and dirt and material that is this shrine, this altar, and then the temple, and then furthermore the land that it lays on. So again, a little distraction. Sorry, guys. No, Julie Ryan. You familiar with?
I don't know Julie Ryan. No, I have to look her up.
Really, you've never? I could have sworn you were on her podcast. I was like,
I also am 55. Okay, I'll write it down. So she's like your sister. She's like your
sister. She's a medical intuitive. She's she refers to her. I refer to her as the Martha Stewart of psychic mediumship. Furthermore, the psychic buffet.
Oh, cool.
So there's a dramatic. It's polarizing because you would look at her and look at me and go, "There's no association. There's no way. How is that? How do these guys click? Oh, they click like you and I do.
I know.
It's so dramatic.
Yeah.
You return home, and we are as one. And, something real is.
Yeah. Just a little side note. I didn't tell you this when we spoke last, but so many comments on our YouTube, on my guest spot with you, people sending me messages that could feel the vibration every time we said, "Do you feel that?" They were like, "I felt it. I felt everything." And I was like, it's so cool to hear people sharing their experience. But yeah, it's just, it's cool.
Well, it's always refreshing to get that reinforcement.
Totally.
And you get to a certain point where it goes beyond question. And it's not a complacency. I think that's the most fundamental thing. It's like, well, another dear friend of ours that we clicked, Nicole Frolic.
Yes.
Right? Another one. She's a homie.
Yeah.
She's a homie. She's just good. She's good vibes, great energy.
Yeah.
Real, recognized, real.
Yeah, totally. She's awesome. I just listened to her. I listen to her all signs every month. Okay, so let's go back to the table with you and all the ladies.
Yes. and that sounds so weird, but at one point I remember in regression of my childhood that I was literally, I think I was in a school because I moved around Australia. That was part of the very, what someone would call damaging sort of effects of having a single parent. You go where there's opportunity. So I moved around New South Wales constantly. So I wasn't just in Sydney. I was in Coogee, Randwick. These are all different. Darlinghurst, Paddington. These are all different variables of Sydney. And then when my mother was attempting to try and create a survival mode for us, I would spend my time with my grandmother as a child. And my grandmother was a badass. She really went through so many shades of having to redefine what her power was. And there was a level of knowing that was it was breathtaking, because when you're around her, she was a seamstress. And so she was incredible at creating things that are beyond words. And she would just do it with one click of her eye. And it was so detailed. It was perfect. And she built something up that was just beyond someone's mind. How did you create this wedding dress from one look, one glance, one touch? And she was very well known at doing that.
Yeah. Guess what? I had the same grandma.
You can't make this up.
No, she would make dresses and uniforms and gowns, and she didn't finish school. They were just creative. They were our strength. They showed us. I spent most of my time with her growing up. Isn't that interesting? I think that's cool.
You come, and I used to spend time when I was at her house. She lost my grandfather at a very young age. He was 44. He was sort of active, like the World War II. So he his time in the World War and came home, and to mend his own mental struggles and all the things that he saw in war, He was subject to war. He drank himself into his very short-lived life, which was very sad. And so he passed away at a very young age, and then she was left alone. And then my uncle, he was just a bright, shining star and was the brother to my mother. And he unfortunately got into a car accident. And, you know, the guy was an attorney, he had all these things he had to, they brought him back, and he was living at home with my grandmother, and he had serious deformation. I mean, his mental capacity had been brought down to one fraction of what his potential was, and he ultimately ended up taking his life.
Wow.
So sad. And so I would sit in the room where that took place, because my grandmother had to deal with the loss of a child, a loss of her husband, a loss of a child. And when I'd sit in his room, he would come to me and go, okay, let's have conversation. Like I felt people would come into the house and freak out and go, there's energy in here.
What?
Like there's a ghost. There was several ghosts. It was my grandfather and my uncle. And I would be sitting in that room as a young boy, lying in bed and having conversations with him. Not so much my grandfather, but I was very connected with my uncle. And so we just have conversations. I never felt more in love, more whole, more satisfied as a child, because I had all this around me at will.
Yeah.
This interaction with different generations of my family, and I was never missed for it. So when people go, "Oh, you're an only child," I never felt the deficiency of not having a masculine energy giving me guidance. It was always there. And so you start to recognize, you know, I'm talking with spirits at the age of 6, 7, 8 years of age, and it's completely normal. It's like, this is the normal programming as usual. Yeah. And so that led me into being hit by a car head on by a drunk driver, and I died for 40 minutes. And that was awesome. That was,
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It all starts to add up, right? It all gets put into perspective. And I distinctly remember at that time we were in the country, and I was riding out of town, and I was on a dirt road with one of my friends, and we just got these bikes, and it was like, you know, this is like, it's a Christmas gift from Santa Claus that I had to save up for 3 years, but that's not the point. It was like a really big deal,
the moment,
for me to have this material thing that made me so happy, because there was very little in my life that would make me feel complete. And so I had this whole narrative of all my ancestors that were around me. And then so these little things, I'm like, okay, so I'm supposed to operate like a kid. Okay, this is, you know, I'm having board meetings with people beyond dimensions at will, but I have to look like I'm a child having fun as a child. So that was fun. So it was a measure in how long can you contain this kind of energy. So I rode over this track, and I was heading towards my house. I could see it in front of me. We were riding our bikes, and I heard this noise. I looked back, and this guy pulled over the railway track, and it was like, it would seem like a mile. And so I'm like, whatever. He can see us. He's going to like drive around us. I mean, this is the country. It's a dirt road. What's the big deal? Next, my bike is under his front wheels, and I'm in the air looking at the tops of the trees. I hit the ground, and the first thing that came to me was, I got to see my mother before I die.
Oh, gosh.
And I got up, and I went to walk towards my house that I could see in the distance, and instantly everything was taken away from me. I fell backwards. The second my body hit the ground, I'm out like Peter Pan. I'm flying around. I'm like, wow. I mean, this is like the Disney movies. This is like, I am flying through the air, and I'm watching my mother screaming hysterically, running towards my lifeless body. And I got to float around and watch this whole thing as they were like, he's gonna
For
put me
40.
in the ambulance. They're rushing me to the hospital. All of this would seem like a few minutes. It was like 40 minutes. If anyone was going to live, there's just no way I was going to live. And I was just floating around watching this, watching her heart pour out. I can't touch her. I cannot communicate with her, but I can watch her just mourning the death of me. And I'm looking at my body. I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, there was little processing. It was more experiencing it at that moment.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like Superman. Let me go into the clouds. Let me fly around. Let me move around. And, as they were the parade towards the hospital, I would be looking around at the environment, just flying in the air. It's like, this is unbelievable. This is amazing. But at that moment, it was just like, this is natural. Yeah. Where is this taking me? I'm not sure. And the second they dropped my body on a table in the hospital, I came out of it. I was drawn back in, and it was like an adrenaline shot. I came up like Frankenstein. Bam. And they're like, whoa.
And
this shouldn't be happening. This kid is alive.
It's been 40 minutes. And there was no one saying to you, you hear these NDE people say, I don't want to go back, and you have to go back, and there's work for you to do, and all the things.
That was you see, this is the thing that people need to understand. I've been teaching people what we call Shen Gong for over 30 years, right? So Shen Gong means spirit power. That means that you're emanating your spiritual prowess, your substance in a material world. You are creating perfection. You channel that every day. You emanate it. You embody it. So from a Taoist perspective, we harness the immortality and we crystallize it in the material. Little plug on one of my books. But anyway, that's what you do. It's you are containing something that is distorted, and you're bringing it back to a holy stream of oneness. And that is where we get down with the get down. And so astral projection, OBEs, NDEs, the fundamental starting point for people that are curious will be, and this goes in order, and they can look at the metaphysics of it in my latest book, First Person, Third Person, No Person. There you go. You can plug that one. Understand the first person aspect.
Yeah.
You are operating as such. You then recognize you can exit thy body from an operating system. So you then see yourself in the third person. And then ultimately, as you enter the center of all things, you recognize you are everything and nothing at the same time. And so that is where you really start to, that spiritual power is unlimited, abundant, timeless, endless, limitless. And so when people get these scenarios where, oh my goodness, someone told me this is a prison planet and death and destruction is coming, and all, I mean, that's great. That's your subject. You're subject to your version of your experience.
Right.
That's it. It starts and ends there. So It's like, for me, when I met that for the first time, leaving said body, it wasn't about, having any limitations whatsoever. I had none. I wasn't constructing it where, I'm going to come to the light of Jesus and he's going to come. And now I'm not dismissing Jesus, because JC and the big G, I hang out with those dudes all day long. When I come across their energy emanating from someone's field, and I am helping them remember who they are, the JC, we're homies, we hang. And that's a potent energy. He is a potent force that is an emanation of a culmination of millions, billions of souls that are bringing that energy to our experience. And that happens also with Taoism. The reason the alchemy is so powerful is because, I just want to give you guys a heads up, it's a method, it's a conditioning, and millions of generations before this one has been cultivating this energy. So when you step into methods that are trained, that are over thousands of years, they actually work. They're not constructed of potential. There's a method a groove. You're stepping into a pattern of behavior, and that can be recognized by anyone. But you have to understand that why try and reinvent the wheel if you're able to obtain that frequency through your own conditioning? The biggest thing I believe, and you could talk to this, is that most people get energy activated. The lights are on, but no one's home.
Mm.
Channeling, like the way you channel and the way I channel, they don't have a direct communication. Like I can sit here and talk to you and not be 3 cents short of $1 or leave my groceries at the meat market. Shout out to Crockett and Tubbs from Miami Vice. So, and I can have a conversation with Latsu right now, who's sitting at my table, and hear his voice, and I see him as clear as I see you, and I'm absolutely A-okay. And it shows in what are we capable of meeting this frequency?
Yeah.
So, what's a normal day for me is like, hey, these are the things that the troubling events that people are meeting within their life. And it's always in a deficiency because we're dealing with material distortion, which is the lowest frequency. Physical healing is the lowest frequency. Mental gymnastics through the material state is the lowest frequency. When you obtain the frequency that you're emanating, and that I'm emanating through a dialogue, what we call the dialogue with the monologue. For me, the dialogue is all my teachers. I have over 170 teachers that I just go to at will for direct source information. Some would recall it Akashic Records, Halls of Amente, Christ consciousness. It's real. It's as real as the day is long, and the information precedes any sort of logic or critical thinking.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen because I'm not, as you know, as a channeler, you're not sitting here conjuring. This is where the part where people you can fake it till you make it to a certain level, but like there's a fluidity. And if anyone looks at Pamela connecting with her counsel, it's a fluidity that is, there's no pause. There's zero pause, there's zero conjuring. It just flows through you as that node point of knowledge and wisdom. And it's undeniable. And, a lot of people tend to, because they have an experience that they want to experience, they create a version, just like the soul contract. I've been sitting here with the council. They're going to give me a life review. That's fantastic. That is, you know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. That's your experience. And that is 100% validated by you. And moreover, you can have a consensus with a group of people that agree that this is the experience they're having. 100%. For me, I'm a Pepsi challenge guy from the 80s. Show me. I'll take the Pepsi taste test with anyone. So it's like there's a degree of, okay, you're having this out-of-body experience. And most people, what happens is, and this is a consensus I've had with a dear friend of mine, Tom Campbell, who would be considered a contemporary godfather of astral projection over years. He had a great relationship with a guy by the name of Bob Monroe. And so they did a lot of history testing versions. And I mean, again, he has his version, what he refers to as my big toe, his theory on everything, right? So the consensus is this: the reason that people have to go through the phases and gears of out-of-body embodiment, or more commonly astral projection or OBEs, is because you say so. And it becomes a body-centric thing. When you recognize that this avatar is nothing more than an anchor for your spirit to experience this,
you understand.
The body-centric part is they fall into it. I will apologize to the audience because Pamela and I are as high as AF right now. We're swimming in it, man. We're swimming in it, and it is an ongoing thing. Someone would think, "What? Did someone drop a roofie? Well, I got a roofie in my drink right now. Did you do that?" I think, but I can. I'm that guy that pulled over by the cop and says, "All right, sir, walk the straight line." And I'm like, "Let me walk the straight line. I'm completely sober." I'm sober, Mr. Officer. No, I'm not trying to play that, but I can attempt to look that way.
This is so funny.
So
But I understand everything you're saying.
the body-centric part is the kickoff point. That's the part where people get caught up in their own.
It's because that's what they know. That's what they feel. It's all they know. Yeah.
And that's what they'll experience, and they'll keep this. What happens is most of the new OBEers are people that want to do that now. From an ancient perspective, we just call it Shen Gong, which is spirit projection. Mm-hmm. Then coined an OBE. An OBE was coined by Bob Monroe. I mean, it didn't exist before 40 years ago. Okay, astral projection, another variable that was not really met with more than a cultural thing that over a few decades turned into something that didn't exist 100 years ago, 200 years ago. That wasn't how we explained a spiritual embodiment. Where we are more than anything. We are the sum of all parts. We are everything and nothing at the same time. That's what we're talking about, right?
I didn't know that he coined that phrase.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I have so many things that I want to say, but I want to get back to your story.
Do I have spiritual like ADD, baby?
No, well, we go down these things. We just do because it's just fascinating. And I want to talk about not out of body, astral projection, but I want to go back to your story. When you were back in that hospital, I'm assuming it was a hospital. I think you said that on the table, and the adrenaline was like, and then you were just back. How old were you, number one? And then what was life like after that?
I was 8.
Wow. I mean, think about it.
And when at that point, I'd been communicating with my grandfather and my uncle for many years. Mm-hmm. So, sitting and communing with that, because my grandmother was a no-nonsense type of person. Like, she lived by herself. Everyone's like, how do you as a widow live by yourself? I don't need a man. I don't need anybody. I'm content with myself. And so, you just go off. I've got strong ass women around me that are second to none. And that's where you need to be. People don't understand. Many men, they become eunuchs due to the fact that they have a father that doesn't help nurture their true essence. And so I didn't have that oversight by someone who was just attempting to flex the fact that they were a male. And of course, my biological father never amounted to anything, even though his intention was to do nothing, and do nothing is what he did right up to his last breath. And I mean, even now I have better conversation with him, having left this material world.
Same.
And never understood. But, I cannot look at one of my children and not want to sacrifice everything that is a material existence, including my flesh, without question. In this next fraction of a second, take it all. I am completely 100% at a completion point with that.
Tell everybody just really quickly how many kids you have, but then get back to your story.
I have, I don't know.
How many is it this time?
It's been a while since I started my Netflix. 1, 2, 3, 6.
Wow.
6.
God bless you. Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is also another big thing. I had many of the times I'll be multitasking. If someone, if I have someone that's like, oh, I need this emergency session, or I have a student, or I'm doing something at a bigger collective level, and I'll have a student on the phone, and they're like, oh, Jiff, this is happening. I'm like, okay, hang on a second. I got like a circus, like equivalent to Kiss by one of my favorite songs from Kiss, Psycho Circus, right? It's happening in the background, and they're having a full body rehearsal. My student's on the phone with me going, how do you do this? This is insane. You have like 6 kids like running circles around you. And I'm feeling like I'm popping off more than the highest point of my Kundalini awakening I've ever had. And you're just talking to me over the phone because That's what we do, baby. That's how it works. You condition this stuff and you are actualized.
Uh,
That's one of the biggest things that people need to recognize.
yeah, it's so cool. It's so much fun talking to you. It really is so much fun talking to you. Okay, so in my mind, I see you as like this tough, punky kind of kid, like teen. I'm in your teens now. You didn't even go there yet, but I see you as like, I don't know, like you. I think you'd, I don't know, rough and tough and not take shit from anybody kind of kid. But what were you like?
Yeah, I mean, you got that, but I was also met with the resistance of societal norms
Mm,
because I had a single parent, and because I was very, very sharp. Like I would
quick.
spend uh, beyond quick. Like so, I was met with that's that weird kid that literally can run rings around me and give me words from this thing I discovered only a week ago. It's called a thesaurus, and it took me a month to find because they don't have the internet back in those days. So he used a word to describe me that I didn't realize what it was, and then after I found that's what it meant, I came back and I punched him in the face. I was adversity of bullying, right?
Yeah.
So in those days, it was like a scarlet letter to be a child from a single parent house. You know, it's a very common thing here in America. It was not common in Australia. It was not common.
Mhm.
And so you're meeting this moment where you have this, and my biggest thing was, you will not break my will.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like, no, no, sorry, no can do. I mean, I got my people, I got my uncle, I got my grandfather around me. I can see energies that you can't see. And these kids are really coming from a dysfunctional household where they go home, mom and dad works a really hard labor job. They get liquored up, they beat their kids, and their kids go into school going, this is my form of therapy.
Right.
Let me find the weirdest kid in here,
Yeah.
and I'm going to let it out on him because
Yeah.
daddy beats me after a fifth of Jim Beam or Jack Daniels or whatever
Yeah.
it is that they do. And that was very common. So I would not be met with anyone in the physical realm breaking my will. So as a young boy, bullying was a big thing. And how did I meet that? This this conversation I had with my uncle and my grandfather. Why don't you start to create something? You need to meet them materially. I'm like, okay, well, let's get into bodybuilding. I'm like, whoa, really? Go and find this book. And so I found a book back in those days, which was, pretty controversial. It was called Education of a Bodybuilder by this guy by the name of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so I was like, wow, this is the guy. I was as a young boy, I was drawing, superheroes and muscular men. And because my mother and my grandmother were artists. So when I was 4 years old, I would sit there and my time was spent doing still lifes, where you put a banana on the center of the room and then recreate the banana in this pencil shading and thing. So I mastered that alchemy of painting and drawing, which led me to many other things, and I had a very successful career as an artist and an art teacher. That was a whole nother place. So that kind of got me to, okay, you hang on, I was right back to something. Where was I at? I was at that point where we were
Bodybuilder.
bodybuilding. Yeah, so the bodybuilding to me was art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
on top of that, I
That
could
makes sense.
create more strength. So for me, I would eviscerate you with words, and you would be left like naked standing in the middle of the court with everyone laughing at you going, you are quite a buffoon. Now, the reason that I had such an reaction was because these kids would want to violate me physically. It's like, you're not going to break my will. Like, I think if that was happening today in today's society, I would be a billionaire and I'd be retired right now because they would not allow it. But, I had like 6 or 10 kids at one time, like stomping upon me, dragging me into the girls' locker room, shameful things like spitting and pissing on me, horrible things that you can't even imagine. And then I would get up after the beating and go, is that it? You got to be kidding me, right? Are you really? Come on, guys. If you're going to get together with a bunch of your alcoholic, no good, ridiculously short-lived fathers, and this is your version of therapy, you need to find a psychologist. What is that? Boom, boom, boom. And so you start to recognize that free will is more than that. It is an embodiment that is not just a choice. You know who you are, and you find that out very quickly. And so that led into the bodybuilding. I started that, and that was very fulfilling because I was able to literally start to capture things. So the second I read that book, and I was 10 years of age, I went straight to, I couldn't find a gym. There was no 24-hour fitness. There's not like gyms on every corner.
Yeah.
Health and fitness was a fantasy for most people. But guess what? The local church had a gym upstairs.
Wow.
I went to the local church. I went upstairs to this gym. It was old and musty because no one used it.
I was there.
And I literally laid down on a bench and put 45s on each side. At the age of 10, that's a lot of weight. That's about 150 pounds. And I took that weight off the bar. I got 4 or 5 reps out. And then the bar fell on my chest, fractured my sternum. And I was holding that bar for
How long?
At least 10 or 20 minutes until someone turned up.
Oh
and I was screaming.
Oh my God.
But there's not, what I need people to understand is there's no limitation.
Yeah.
If I was to condition myself, I'd be like, well, you're young. You need to start with sort of calisthenics. You need to start in a very low exercise. No, I read this book. Arnold Schwarzenegger says you can look like this if you eat this. And this is the superhero that I'm looking. This is where I'm for the superhero aspect. And so I was drawing, bodybuilders and he-men for my whole childhood. And one of my dear friends of my mother, who was like a mother to me, but she was just like, she took my mother aside and said, what do you think? What's going on here? She's like, what are you talking about? I mean, for his whole life, he draws dudes. Like, what do you think? You think maybe he might be hitting for the other side. She's like, I don't know, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
It just seems strange that he's drawing muscly dudes all the time. Like everywhere he can, he wants to create this character of masculine emanation. And it was just my fascination with the human body. So I used to love just drawing like the form of the body, portraits, everything that can enrich yourself. And when I would put, in my case, my medium was oil pastel and then oil painting. So I'd take a huge canvas, 6 foot by 4 foot canvas, and I'd do a portrait of someone, and I'd be obsessed with a celebrity. And when you looked into their eyes, their soul would speak back to you.
Wow.
So this was the kind of thing that I enriched myself with. And this led to the bodybuilding part. And by the age of 15, I was doing things like competing in bodybuilding. I got my body fat down to about 4% at 187 pounds, which for a 15-year-old, everyone was like,
come here.
What are you taking? Like broccoli, fish, chicken, and lots of exercise. And it was more controversial in those days. These days, people are, the whole of the
That's
internet,
what they're doing.
it's a facade. They're not meeting the resistance of their own persistence. They just want to alchemize it with something external, and it always ends with a deficiency. And so I spent my childhood bodybuilding, and I had no limitations. I read the book, then I found a mentor within the gym because it was part of a church. And this guy was clearly a roided out nutcase, but he was so kind, he was so soft, and he was such an incredible mentor because he taught me about the ins and outs of nutrition. So soon after I started that, I started fasting. I was fasting at the age of 10. So I understood, and I got a greater understanding of nutrition, supplementation, the breakdown of nutrition, the foundation of like amino acids and what that meant for the human body, because the human body is a production line for producing protein. And when you understand how that works, and then you master the alchemy of conditioning from a bodybuilding perspective, you can take anyone from a zero to a hero very quickly.
Wow.
So his mentorship was not like shaded with like, hey, kid, take some steroids. He never once mentioned that to me. You could tell that the guy was taking steroids, but he was teaching me the fundamentals of nutrition. And so I had no limitation. I had this gorilla-like mentor. I read Schwarzenegger's book. I was living the actual bodybuilding like regimen. And so for me, my limitation was nothing. It's like that says here, go here, do this, exercise, and you'll get a result. And I was getting those results. And at a certain age, my late teens was when things started to really explode, because my strength was going through the roof. I was doing, I was pulling 800-pound deadlifts, 800-pound squats. Yeah.
Wow.
And that wasn't a PR of one. We're talking like I got 2 or 3 reps out. But there was also this other influence, which later I found out it was Latsu. Outside of my grandfather, outside of my uncle mentoring me, I had this voice saying, you need to change direction because the hubcaps are coming off the wheels. I'm feeling it physiologically that you can't contain this much energy forever. And so when you're getting to these types of lifts, at one point I had, 200-pound dumbbells, one in each hand, 200 pounds. I shoulder pressed that for 4 or 5 reps. And, when you have that type of power, you can reach out and touch someone on a physiological level. And the more and more that I embodied the bodybuilding, the more and more I was in need of having to destroy people verbally because they were leaving me alone physically. And so there was this whole dynamic and this like, interplay, where through my own knowing and my embodiment of this version of myself, another iteration of self, the bullies were starting to simmer down. Like, this is what I recognize. This is what I identify as power. I'm not going to attempt to attack that, because what happens is if I bite, that energy will bite. But it wasn't in my mind as something where I have to hurt them. I wanted to be whole. And from that persona started to precede me, just like our energy, just the way we cultivate energy. And so you start to recognize that's not even it's not even necessary. And I mean, part of the path of Taoist alchemy is recognizing all the things that you do, you don't have to apply them. I mean, there's versions of things where healing is so rewarding and satisfying from a material level that you want to get that out of the way. You want to start really recognizing how to distort from distortion, which is the frequency of the material state. You bring that holiness in, which you and I do through our connection and our attunement to pure source. I refer to it as the primordial mother. You have your counsel. This is undeniable. It's a visceral thing for anyone that's around us. They go, holy crap, what is that? What's going on? I am having a full body arousal. And my answer is always the same. You're welcome.
I couldn't wait to see what you were going to say.
So this 17, 18-year-old self was given this, you need to go and find meditation.
Were you into girls then?
That brings me back to my younger childhood. You were talking about someone before the show, and that scenario was interesting, and it brought me to, because when I was a young boy, my mother picked up one gig where I was about 9. I was 9. It was just after the near death, and she had this gig where she was the head of a daycare facility. It was a big gig. It was a huge, you have arrived. You finally, all your hard work, all your masters and this and that, everyone's recognizing you as someone who's a stellar part of the community, and they're going to reward you with this job title. And I ended up, being put in a private school temporarily. I would come home, but it was like a really exclusive place where you had to have influence. And because she was a huge part of this small town, they gave me admission to this private school. So it was a unisex. It was basically guys and girls in this one school, but then they would have their dorms. So it was really a boarding school for a lot of people that would travel from out of town to come to the school. And so the dorm for the girls, my mother was very, very much in connection with the I don't know what you would call it, the woman that was the matron, not the matron.
Yeah,
I don't know.
She was in charge of the women's dorm.
She was in charge of the girls' school. And so sometimes when she would have to go for meetings to go to town, she'd be like, you got to go and stay with, Sharon. And I'm like, really? And Sharon runs this girls' boarding school. So it was an integrated thing during the day, but at night, the boys and girls separated. Only I got to hang out with all the girls. Like I would literally be sitting around like a room full of girls. They're like, oh, he's so cute. I'm like a 15-year-old, and I'm starting to get this weird feeling. It's like, wow, this is crazy, man. This is insane. How is this possible? And I didn't know what to meet with it other than I was welcome. I was welcome, and everyone was just integrated. It was so soft. It was so loving, and it was just beautiful. So that was where that part came in. I was going to bring you to that part. So at 17, find meditation. Okay, what is that? What is meditation? In those days, it was Hare Krishnas, vegans, hairy armpits. We didn't really have much more than that. I mean, we're just coming off like, psychonautic experiences from, the Beatles, completely taking over the Western culture with all this, talk of yellow submarines, LSD, all this psychonautic stuff. And, we still weren't making sense of it. So Hare Krishna was another Eastern, Hardy. And that kind of brings me to my favorite movie, which is the movie Hair back in 1979. And that makes a lot of sense, really, quite frankly. But I was obsessed with that movie. That was like the movie. But the Hare Krishna part was, okay, that's their version of some type of meditation, because I really had no idea. So I went looking for it, and my kids are always like, okay, tell me more about this classified thing in a newspaper, Dad. I want to know what that is. I'm like, oh, okay. That's how I found this teaching, was through in the newspaper. And so this woman was offering this 3 meditation class, and she claimed she was a grandmaster of something. She was literally standing up 4 feet high, this beautiful, very soft and welcoming, like grandmaster of Qigong. So she had come from the shameful, disgusting landscape of China, and she escaped China to come over, and she was in Australia. It's like, oh yeah, we have arrived. So I didn't make much of it at the time. I was like, okay, I'm focusing on the bodybuilding thing. I'm getting this voice that says find meditation. My version of that was yoga, or sitting there and just being quiet. I had no idea quiet was taking, metal and distorting it and bending it into whatever shape I chose to, but that was bringing your attention and intention. And so I've been doing that since a young boy. I was seeing through walls, talking to spirits, all this kind of stuff was normal to me. So I was like, okay, so this is all super good and groovy. It's all happening in the periphery. I've got no one diagnosing me as having psychotic breaks. I'm having a great time. I put my time and attention to something, things create. So I get to this meditation thing, and I'm like, I'm not expecting much, but I'm also I have a motto that withstands the test of my time on earth, which is I will try anything once. And people are like, ooh, what does that mean? Absolutely what it means. Because if you put a limitation on yourself, you will never, ever obtain what it is that you truly desire from within. And so a lot of people are struggling with being accepted. This is why there's all this inverted sort of experiences that people are having in life right now, is they're contending with many different versions, and they find this safe haven within your teaching, my teaching, where they can truly find themselves without the obstruction of external stresses, may it be their own family, society, workplace, relationships. That's why they fall in love with the wisdom teaching that you share and I share. It's like a place of completion, and you can't find it anywhere else. And then, of course, when they start to really nourish themselves with the teaching, they recognize that they never left that place. That's who they are. That's the whole point of it. So this meditation thing, I didn't have any expectation. So I got out there. At that point, I was like I looked like a gorilla without hair, an eclipse. So, I'm driving out to this like rec center in what was equivalent to a really crappy neighborhood in Sydney. And I'm expecting that I'm going to have to contend with something a little bit worse than that, which is being held up or held at gunpoint, or have someone want to take my money or whatever. So I pull up to this parking lot, and it's coming on. We're on dusk, where things are getting dark, and I'm like, I need to get out of my car, up the stairs, into this place before something else happens. Because there's noise, there's ambulances, people screaming, barking. It's just mess. When you take your time and attention and you listen to the outside environment of that neighborhood, you can't focus on anything. So I get up the stairs, I get in the door, and I'm like, am I, I'm talking to my uncle, thinking, do I really be here?
Yeah.
Am I in the right place? And she's kind of just smiles at me, kind of like, because she's like 4 foot.
How tall are you?
I'm only 5'11". Okay. On a good day, I might be able to stretch to 6 foot if I, 5'11". And so when I got in there, I sat down. Everyone started posturing, and I'm like, okay, what is that?
What does that mean? Yeah,
it's like a lotus. What I found out to be a lotus position. Uh-huh. Now, what I also found out is I couldn't do that.
You're muscular.
I'm attempting to contort myself, and that was not working out well. I looked like an overgrown gorilla trying to scratch his ass. It was not happening. It was bad. And so I started to think, well, in my mind, I was told meditation is about stillness, silence, emptiness. These are all these words. It was still very foreign to me. Yet I, came to a very full actualization that I'd been doing this stuff my whole life. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, this is not going to work. I'm hearing all this noise in the background. Everyone's doing this. And I am not doing that. And she's just so soft and so welcoming and so loving. And she's just walking around the room quietly. Everyone's getting into position. And I'm trying to scratch my own ass, and my eyes are open. And she wasn't like, okay, everyone must close their eyes. No, she didn't even force her hand on anything, right? But I was distracted. All this noise going on, it's not going to happen. I felt like it wasn't going to happen, right? Whatever I was supposed to experience is not going to happen. So she's walking around quietly, hands behind her back, and she's just softly strolling the room. There was other misfits like myself, beggars can't be choosers, who are all just sitting there as a freebie, man. Come on, whatever it is. And some of these people have been there before. So they're getting in their lotus position and doing all this stuff. And I'm just trying to survive. My back was killing me. I'm worried about what's going to welcome me out.
All the things.
All this kind of stuff. And she's just slowly walking around like what would seem to be forever. And then I got to a point where I'm like, I got to get up. I have to leave. And she goes, now, all I want you to do is close your eyes. Now, I couldn't close my eyes, but she's like, close your eyes now, everyone. Take a deep breath. And just listen to my voice. And I was like, this is not going to work. My eyes are open. It's not going to work. And then the next phase was, and everything will fall away. And I shit you not, Pamela. Sound stopped.
Oh.
I'm sitting there, pain gone, looking at her with my eyes like saucers. And now it's just like, and this went on for 20 minutes. And she'd walk past and she'd just look at me with a smile. And I'm just like this. And I'm just like, this is This is the superpower. This is the shit that I've been fantasizing about since I was a little kid. This is it. This is really it. Sound has stopped. And for 20 minutes, and then it slowly faded back in. I was just like this. And she was just very soft and gentle with a smile. And then this is the beginning of my superpower. This is like Avengers are ready. We are compiling our powers. They are condensing as one. Shazam, all systems are go. Thunderstorm, It all just came. It all came in. And then, of course, I started pursuing the next day was, this is unbelievable. And so now I'm getting a really clear messaging where this voice is saying, find a channeling workshop. I'm like, what the hell is that? What is that? And so I found the guy that was teaching these workshops in the same place.
In the classifieds?
In the classifieds. When I walked into this event, it was like, no. And I'm like, whoa. I haven't even introduced myself. No, you're not for this. You're not. This is no. Why don't you turn around and leave? And we're going to get the class ready in a minute. And I'm like, whoa, I'm here for the channeling workshop. And he's like, no. Can you look around? Like he literally, like all of a sudden his personality is like, you are not for this. Take a look around the room. You are, I don't know what you are. I'm not familiar with that, but you're not this person. And I'm like, please take my money. I want to
channel.
I want to experience channeling. He's like, no. I'm like, please. I really will be a great student. Please give me the opportunity. And he's just like, your money's just as good as anyone else's, sure, but you're not. You're going to be disappointed. Like it was a cynical, bitter thing because I came to find out that the guy had been teaching people this for 60 years, and he's really not happy with as far as he progressed in his own cultivation. Right? Wow. So he was not happy. So that amounted to I was the circus freak and center of attention to a class where the second he brought in his teacher, and I was supposed to receive anything, because it was always, and I use the same formula I still to this day, where when I teach people channeling, I'll have one student will ask the questions, the other person will be the vessel, and we'll see through specific formulas of conditioning what comes out of it, and it's a very, very reliable method, right? And so I literally sat down and I was like the glow stick at a rave party. Yours was emanating at the highest level, and I was sweating like I was in a sauna for 4 days, and Latsu came in like a storm. And it was like undeniable. As you know, you're experiencing all this stuff going, this shit is real. Yes, 100% real. And he started speaking to me directly, and still to this day, I'm not batshit crazy. It's like it's happening. It blew this guy away. He was so pissed. He wasn't happy. He was pissed. It's like some overgrown buffoon that I don't even know what he looks like. He looks deformed. What are these things? They're called muscles or something. Because bodybuilding and muscles and exercise and things like that back in those days was still foreign to society.
It wasn't normal.
I mean, even today, it's a very, very small group of people. People like to go, oh, I'm an Instagram influencer. I take a bunch of steroids and I look amazing. I can bounce a dime off my abs. Come and follow me and I'll show you how to abuse drugs. I mean, this is generally what you're getting today in social media. And none of it is conditioned by commitment to self, by actually embodying and living a lifestyle that is of the highest resonation. It's more just, let me eat McDonald's, I'll take a little bit of growth, a little bit of test, I'll sprinkle some other things on, some peptides, whatever it is, and poof, I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like, it just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work. And I mean, they burn the candle out I mean, we can go on that. There's another story. But anyway, so I channeled Latsu. Everyone was sitting around me with their sticks and marshmallows going, holy shit. I can't even focus on channeling anything. This potency is so strong. It's taking over the room, taking over the town, taking over. It was so potent. He was freaking out because it pissed him off. It wasn't a happy. And he knew that Latsu had arrived and Latsu was not going anywhere. So now I've been talking to my uncle and my grandfather in the periphery for many years, and this was normal because I had no one to tell me that you're batshit crazy. I'm just having these thoughts.
Right. It was just who you were.
And so Latsu coming in was like a sledgehammer. And now I'm seeing this, clearly what looked like an old man that's having conversation with me outside of my uncle and grandfather, but even stronger to what happened was by channeling him and actualizing him, the grandfather and uncle were codified into the field. They became alive. It was like I was looking at them at 1K and they turned up to 8K, just like Latsu. And I'm like, wow, this is nuts. And so now I've got a bunch of people that recognize that I did this. This is happening. I'm hearing his voice as clear as I hear yours. I'm seeing him as clear as I see you. And now I've got this teacher that is like completely twisted, that how does some buffoon who it doesn't even look like a spiritual person channel this energy that is like it goes beyond the test of time. And now I have this, I go to sleep, I wake up, he's still there. It doesn't matter. I turn around, I want a private moment, he's right there. It doesn't leave you. It's not going, he's not going anywhere.
Excuse me.
Well, you understand how this is. I mean, it's not even about parameters.
No.
They are so kind and soft and welcoming that, of course, they just integrate into where you want them in your experience. And so a private moment, of course, is available to you. It doesn't mean you're shackled to this connection that will drive you insane. But, that led to the next day where this same guy was teaching clairvoyant skills and distant healing as part of this whole program. And I'm like, I want to do that.
You're like, I want all the things. I sign up for everything.
Well, yeah, he's like, come in. You're not going to get this one. He was just like, you're not getting this one. It's like, okay, that was a one-off. I don't know whether you're going to be able to hold that. Well, he could tell that my whole body had transformed. And, when I sit in a chair, I would break chairs. I just break chairs. So it was just like, break another chair. And it was definitely the way the muscle was a conductor. So as I reduced the size of my muscle tissue, only because I wasn't exercising as much, the fluidity of Latsu would become more and more concentrated and potent without the distortion of breaking objects, because there was so much juice coming through at once. I would sit and just break things, and everyone's like, "I want whatever what?" And so the next day was like, "Hey, you're not going to get this one, buddy. Like, is this a test? I thought you're
you're supposed to be a teacher."
And he was so jilted. He was so sour. He was prickly and sour. Pamela is unbelievable. He gave me this formula. And I still, to this day, through all this stuff that I've been taught through the monasteries as an ordained priest in 2 lineages of Taoism, and then all my mentoring and teaching from my teachers directly, Latsu, Jade Emperor, Highest Purity, Supreme Purity, Jade Purity. These are direct teachers that I have access to, immortals that I refine everything. So whatever was created or constructed from a realm of man with a relationship of a spirit, that comes from my monastic past as a priest, but furthermore, it extends past that. So when I teach people these alchemical processes, they go well beyond anything someone can capture in some version of reality that comes from the mind they're dictating. And that's why they're so powerful. So that it happens, it hands down. So he gave me this formula. He's like, okay, do this, this, and this. I'm like, I've got nothing to stand up against. My formula was when I go in and exercise, if I do X amount of reps, if I eat chicken, broccoli, and fish,
get this result.
that's my mentality when I walked into this path. So I honestly believe it definitely, through reflection on past lives, and I've done this 1,000 times, it's just part of I just accept and allow everything as it is. And so I walked into this with a try everything once, and I meant it. And so, the stopping of sound to channeling of Latsu to now I'm having this crash course in clairvoyant, senses. He's like, yeah. Here's the formula. All right, Mr. Channeler, show me what you got. And it was like a contending tension. Instead of being a nurturing ambassador to this material as teachers are, as you are, as I am, he was really, resistant. He's like, he wanted to see me fail. That's what he was looking for. He's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And so I sat there and go, okay. So what do you got? Give me something. Come on. And I'm like, okay, this energy is talking to me. And it's saying that you need to stop doing what you're doing. And if you keep harvesting your students, to give that energy to this entity as a sacrifice, it will take your life. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Get up. In the other room. And I'm like, whoa, what? And he's trying to move this big boulder into the other room because he was operating out of a couple of houses at the time. So all these students would come to his house and they'd sit down and they'd be doing the training, an intimate one-on-one. He got me in the other room. He goes, sit down. He goes, what did you say? I said, this entity is telling me that if you stop the harvesting of your students and not giving them what they're asking for as part of your agreement, they will take your life. Whoa, we need to stop. And I was like, I've never done this before. So I'm sitting there just flowing information.
I'm just telling you what you asked me to do.
This is what it's telling me, right? And he goes white and he goes, listen, I need to explain something to you. Okay. Because I'm still back at, okay, this is the system. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
And now that things are actualized, you can see these energies in the field and the information comes in. And that energy was coming in. And I was unassuming because it was more of a dark, shadowed, metallic, almost copper-like energy that kind of would represent something a little bit more demonic, but I just didn't have a reference. I'm not really not a religious person. I didn't really have anything. And so this energy speaking to me, it really formed into a Manitou. It was really crazy, the Manitou energy. The more in tune I became, and then Latsu didn't chime in with, we just had a new relationship. This has been a day. I don't know what's going on. It's like I got my uncle, I've got my grandfather, I've got Latsu, and then I've got this Manitou energy. And he starts confessing. He goes, listen, I've been working with this energy because I've been developing remote viewing skills and other things. I don't know what that is, but they're sensors, they're clear sensors. I'm like, okay, isn't that what you're teaching me? It's like, yeah. And this energy is giving me these sensors, but it's harvesting from my students. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, all right. And I didn't make it because I'm still back at the part where I'm in the mechanistic moment. If I just lifted 5 reps, did I do it right? Did I do it right? Have I done it right? And so I'm still there, and he's literally full-blown diarrhea confession. And then you saw through it. Yeah. And it started to set in. And I was like, hang on. Well, so he just confessed. I go, hang on. Did I get it right? Is that, are you telling me that what I said was right? And I still hadn't, the really implication I still hadn't taken it in. I was more excited about that. Is that information real? And he goes, yeah, listen, the bigger picture. And I'm like, no. I was able to access that information and it's real. And he's like, yes, I understand that, but I need to talk to you about it. I'm like, I just got obsessed with that. I'm like, so it's real. And then it set in. And then I'm like, well, wow. Why are you doing that? He goes, oh, look, I'm working on getting out of this situation. I'm saying, this energy is very clear. It's going to take your life. Now, fast forward a couple of months, and I'm holding him in my arms, and he died from brain cancer.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's real, all right. Because he couldn't let go. That was his identity. That was the only thing that he had.
Wow.
And so that proceeded the next day. So I'm in the clairvoyant thing. Next day, I experienced a distant healing. That was another story. So I went from that to distant healing because I just finished a class on it, and I got home and the rotary phone's ringing, pick it up, and then it was a friend that I wanted to meet up with, and she's like, I'm not coming. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not. I can't meet you. I just sprained my ankle. It's the size of a watermelon. I'm elevating it. They say if you elevate it, it'll make it feel better. I'm in pain, so we're not meeting. I was like super bad. I was like, oh, I was really looking forward to seeing you. And she's like, look, I'll catch up with you in a week or two. You know these things. It takes time to work it out. I'm like, sure. And just before she got off the phone, I go, wait. She's like, what? I learned this thing today called distant healing. Can I try it? She goes, what is that? And what do you mean you learned what? Because I mean, this is just my own journey. It's like, this is a form of what they call energy healing. She's like, yeah, so what is that even? I don't even understand what that even means. I'm like, can I just try it? She goes, well, what does that entail? How do I have to participate? Why am I still talking to you on the phone? Why am I talking to you on the phone? I'm like, well, there's a formula. Okay, what does that mean? So look, this is going to sound weird. And she's like, or listen, just hurry up. I like, whatever it is you want to get out, we'll get out. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to be miserable. And I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks. Just hurry up. I'm like, please entertain me for 2 seconds. She's like, okay. So there's a formula. Yeah, okay, you told me that, just whatever it is. And I said, so this is going to sound really weird, but at the end, there's this thing called an incantation, and I'm supposed to chant this word 5 times. And she's like, hurry up. Just hurry up. And so I go through the formula, and there's specific things that you condition yourself with. At this point, I'm so ripe from the sound stopping, the channeling, the clairvoyant stuff that just switched on. And that doesn't get to the best part because that wasn't really switched on. That was just like dipping the toe in the shallow end of the pool. I thought that I had accessed something potent. That's still to come. Oh, yeah, it gets better. And so I'm sitting there talking to this woman, and she goes, hurry up. And I'm like, okay, let me just go through the points. And I'm just reading through it. And then the end incantation was this: heal, 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 heal. And then next minute, on the other end of the phone, what the fuck is going on here? And I'm like, what? I don't know what. You can edit this out, I imagine. I don't know what fucking sorcery, because she specifically said sorcery. Okay, sorcery what? My fucking ankle shrunk before my very eyes, and I'm standing on it right now.
Wow.
And I'm like, bullshit. Oh, you're full of shit. You're full of shit. I'm like, no offense. She said, no offense, but you're the one that told me to participate in this thing. And I'm standing on it. Now, I wouldn't have believed her, but she was a Polaroid gal. And back in those days, they were very popular. She take photos of everything. But she took a photo of her ankle before, because she's just sitting there just clicking away. Yeah. Just dumb stuff. And so this photo, she had it. She's telling me she's standing on it. She's 100% healed. I'm like, little did I know, my personality doesn't hold much charge for skepticism, but it's there. So I got in my car, drove over to her house, and she was living with her mother. And she operates independently in the corner of the room. Like, she's another story altogether, the mother, in a position of affluence and influence and just money. You tend to get pandered to, like you are the exalted, all-knowing, dictator. So that was a different lifestyle because, anyway, I'll get to that. So I get in there, I'll go through the door, and she runs up to me, gives me a big hug, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? It's like, oh my goodness, this is that. I looked at the photo, what the?
Wow.
And she's like, I'm standing on, look, I'm moving around. And then the mother's operating in the other side of the room. And back in those days, we didn't really know what secondhand smoke was. So I'm doing this, and she's puffing away. She's puffing away because she's smoking in her own house. She can do whatever she wants. Yep. Her remedy at her age was a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of vodka every day was a very good remedy. She didn't believe in doctors. She was into, spirits and Ouija boards and entities. And, this is what I found out after the fact, right? And the girlfriend's hanging off me like madly in love with me because I just, somehow conjured up this healing and like, oh my goodness, what's going on here? And I'm like, got the photo, I've got her hanging off me. I'm looking at this going, this is insane. I thought it was insane. I haven't even talked to them about the other stuff that I've experienced. Right. But I'm like, it's starting to compact on itself. And I'm just like, well, what the fuck? I'll go with it. I don't really care. I mean, at this point, I'm either batshit crazy.
Yeah, you're in discovery.
I'm in discovery phase.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this photo. She's hanging off me. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And there was still, like, if you look at her ankle, there was still a little trait of where the bruising was taking place from a cellular level, but she was 100% like on her foot. Wow. It had gone. And like the photo was like this big. Wow. And I'm like, holy. Now, what I will tell you, I felt the energy shift before, now I see it, but like at that time, I felt the energy completely dissolve when I was going through the incantation. So there was a sense of, oh yeah, this is really happening. Then she shows me the photo, and then the mother's puffing away, and I've got all this hysteria going on, and she's just like, I always knew you were a healer. What is going on here? This is like crazy. And I'm like, okay. And she had been observing this from me because I'd had a relationship with her for a little bit now, 6 or 8 months or whatever. And so there was this whole thing going on where the mother was like, oh, the spirits have called me. I'm like, where is all this coming from? I would never have been involved with your family if I knew you're some crazy kook that was talking to spirits. It's like you're taking it to the next level. Internalized. I don't go and tell the world that I'm like chatting to all these entities and things like. I'm like, hell no. And so she starts going on about, oh, you're a healer. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, I just knew it. I knew it. And I mean, look, you want to see the evidence? Here it is. I mean, she was in an excruciating pain. Her ankle was the size of a watermelon. You even got the photo. I watched it, and I just got a smile from ear to ear, knowing that all my prayers have come true and I have arrived. And I'm like, well, this can't, shit. Can't get any worse than this. Just keep going with it. Well,
okay. You can't stop after that. I mean,
no. And so she goes, I don't believe in doctors. I'm like, yeah, your habits of, she had a distended stomach. She's drinking and smoking. Like, yeah. I don't think she's ever seen her lower parts, her feet, her pelvis, her legs for years. Mm-hmm. But when you have that type of money where you can pay a maid or some type of servant, because that's how she considered them. She had a little less than an appreciative attitude towards people that were helping her. They'll tell you anything that you want to hear, right? So she goes, look, I've got this foot pain thing. It's kind of irritating me. I want you to come over.
Wait, the same day?
That same day.
That same time?
And I'm like doing this.
Like, come on over here.
And I'm like, I can't do this. She goes, well, you need to come over tomorrow. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what am I? I mean, I'm nobody to somebody. All of a sudden, now I'm
You're a healer.
the next healer, right? And I get over there the next day, and I'd been getting pep talks from Latsu. It's like, oh, this is exciting, and I'm pretty much sure. Now, the background behind this was I had a lot of friends through my childhood that were really conflicted with overshadowing of energies. And back in my generation, in those days, a lot of kids were taking ecstasy, LSD, pot, and they would go to school hopped up like that.
Yeah.
They would be wired. So I had a group of friends that I hung out with that were outside of all the assholes that would continually want to beat me. And so those friends were obsessed with pot, ecstasy, and LSD specifically.
Wow.
And LSD, and we're talking from the age of 11 and 12, they were taking what they call clear window panes, they're called. And so they would be taking 2 and 3 of those a day, no problem. And as they got older in their teens, they'd operate at school with the pot and the ecstasy and everything else. And I was that guy in the background that was the Buzz Killington. So I'd be hanging out with them, reading a muscle and fitness magazine in the background. I mean, in those days, we didn't have like all the sensory overload that we have these days. So you'd go and hang out with your friends. It's Friday. Their parents went out of town, and they'd just bring over all their friends, and they'd hang out and smoke pot and take LSD and all this kind of stuff. And I'd be sitting in the background reading my muscle and fitness magazine. And one day, one of my friends came to me and said, "You got to go." I'm like, what are you talking about? I've known you guys. No, you either take a drug or you get the F out of here. And I'm like, come on. I mean, we've known each other for a long time here. Come on. No, it's like you're either a part of us or you're not.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I'm kind of bummed. So I took my muscle and fitness back to the left. Now, these guys continued to hammer themselves. By the age of 20, I had one friend left. And this is a group of 20 friends. The rest of them had committed suicide.
Wow. Yeah, but they were letting all kinds of entities in. Your light was like, they're like, get the fuck out.
Yeah, yeah. And so I have one friend left who's still clinically diagnosed as schizophrenic, but he finds his solace and grounding through all the teaching that I share with him.
Wow.
On a clinical basis, if you were to diagnose him, he would be schizophrenic. But he finds complete power over his operating system when he immerses in the teaching that I share.
Wow.
So
doing that much LSD though can lead to schizophrenia. Like, I mean, beyond the drug part, like the
schizophrenia, beyond schizophrenia. Right? I mean, they all had mental disorders. And so by the time I was, having this whole experience, my very concern was I'd watched so many friends destroy themselves or kill themselves from these drugs. So I was like, I am not going to be controlled by something external. So I never took any of that stuff. And so I still had a fear in the back of my mind. Well, what if I lose my mind? Hang on a second. I'm just...
I'm going to pause because I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, schizophrenia and everything.
Yeah. So that was my biggest fear, was I didn't want to lose my mind. Mm-hmm. And so I watched the side effects. So first of all, I was totally anti-drugs of any kind. And I really was a part of the embodiment.
Yeah.
And so when I got to the first phase, stopping sound, then channeling Latsu, now I had more reinforcement from my own dialogue with my uncle and my grandfather. And then I'm talking to this completely different energy that runs through me independently of my thoughts and processes, and it's potent. So then I have this whole thing where the biggest thing that I had was concerned was, okay, I don't want to lose my mind, but I felt like I was on the road there. By the time I did Latsu, then I did the clairvoyant stuff with the teacher, then I did the distant healing. And then I have this woman who's claiming that I'm the next coming of Jesus. She was like freaking out, like this is exactly what I was waiting for. all the messaging all these years. You are here. You have arrived. I'm like, so she goes, hey, come and see me. I need to get I need you to take a look at this foot because I don't believe in doctors. And so she found another. And at this point, I'm like, oh, who gives a shit? And so now I'm having this dialogue with Latsu very clearly, and it's like not my uncle, not my grandfather, and now I have this vivid 4K thing. So if I'm sitting in my car, I'll just turn to the passenger seat like I am now and look at him, and like you feel the visceral experience. You can feel it right now when I'm talking to you. You feel the presence of him. He's coming through your body. You're like, this is fucking real. Yes, and this is an attunement that you and I have. And this is part of what I refer to as the conditioning. And so Latsu is, very present. So I'm driving over to her house the next day going, what have I done? I think I might be crazy. He's like, no, you're not. I'm like, I don't know. I'm talking to you. I'm seeing you. I think I'm shit crazy. I think, there's one thing that was kind of a fun little thing. People always talk about have your prayers and talk to your loved ones. They're always with you. And I had that experience with my uncle and my father, not my father, my uncle and my grandfather. And I was like, okay, this is a personal thing. I'm not really sharing it with anyone. Everyone talks about, hey, go to church and talk to Jesus and whatever. I was not a spiritual person. I never went to church. And so now I'm having this thought. He's like, no, you're not. You are where you need to be. And I'm like, yeah. Okay. So I end up at this woman's house.
Let's do this thing.
And I'm like, yeah, let me go and take a look at this thing because I'm now a doctor, right? I'm like, I'm now this doctor-like figure that does healings. And so she's sitting there in a normal place. She doesn't really move. I swear to God, she doesn't move. And so I turn up there. Her housekeeper lets me in. And she's sort of sitting up there watching TV. Again, I don't believe she could ever see her feet. So she's on that chair like this, and then she's got her feet up on a stool, but her stomach is still, she can't see through it. And so she's puffing away, and she goes, yeah, take a look, because, now that I have my own personal Jesus, I don't need to go anywhere, right? This is like, I've got the healer. I'm like, I always knew you were, but now I've seen evidence. It's there. And so you feel the buildup. I was feeling the buildup driving over to her house. And then Latsu was like, counseling me going, no, we're going to go over to take a look. And I get down there and she's just doing her normal thing, watching TV, puffing away. And I take her sock off and I shit internally. It's like a gangrenous foot that really should be amputated. No way. It's like in my mind, I'm being calm because I'm used to being able to regulate. But in my mind, I'm like, get this woman up in a car, take her to the hospital. It's got to happen that way. And Latsu's like, no. I'm like, what do you mean no? This is serious. This is like life-taking stuff. And I don't know shit. I just know that I've never seen this before, and it is black.
Yeah, she could die.
And then he's like, no. And I'm like, what do you mean no? And so this is this dialogue that we're having, and she's independent of it because she's just like, so how's it going down there? And I'm like, literally freaking out. It's like, yeah, I'm just taking a look. It's like, so what do you, and she's like going through it. So how did you do that on my daughter? Like, what exactly did you do? I said, well, I'm just like, holy shit. Well, it's like a formula. It's a formula, and you go through the formula and you speak this incantation. Oh, I know about incantation. And then I've got Latsu going, no, you're going to witness a healing right now, Mike. Sure. Yeah. And for 40 minutes, I watched that tissue go back to pink.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding.
Holy shit.
I am completely coherent. And when I say that, see, what the audience must understand with their own conditioning is that when I'm speaking this stuff with Pamela, she's experiencing it like real time. As I say it, she's feeling the whole experience. This is not just like, when you have arrived, when someone is full of shit. In this realm, there's no splitting hairs. And so when I'm describing this to the audience, Pamela's experiencing it.
I'm seeing it.
And seeing it. And so all of this has taken place. Now, she didn't really have anything other to say than, oh, my foot feels better. I didn't go, oh, we need to amputate your foot. It just completely dissolved before my very eyes. It took 40 minutes. Now, these days, for me, it's about a fraction of a second. And I don't get caught up in the weeds of stuff like that. Like if people have, diagnoses of terminal illness or, comas or bigger things, it's a shift of a few seconds and the outcome is always the same.
Wow.
It's always the person is not ready to go. They come back into the body and it's like rising from the dead. So, and this is a very common thing for me. I mean, I was just witnessing it just last week with someone. These are very common things, but you have to get past this ceremonial, sanctimonious, egoic, we call Chigo, we call it Chigo, where you're about yourself, because this is where healers will fall very short of the mark and they won't become actualized because they're caught up in the weeds where you're like, I need to call in my angels. I need to sit down. I need to, you and I are very much the same. Like I am speaking words of wisdom, but I can emanate and increase the emanation of Latsu at will as he feeds through me and transmutes from me, and it engulfs the whole space as you are the same. And so this is not like some people, you'll watch them, there's a progression, and it's all learning curves for individuals. But, maybe, when they first started, it might have been like, let me sit here and get settled and I'll find my space and I'll get into it. And then the energy will come in and the spirit will come in. You and I are in that same place where it's now.
It's there.
I mean, what someone could look at is different phases of self, and we can move in and out of that at will. So for me, meditation is, I'm having a conversation with Latsu because I like it. I like having a conversation with the spirit, the immortality. I enjoy it. It's part of my nurturing. And then furthermore, I can take it to the next degree, which is the dialogue, which is the mediumship, and the monologue, which is a full embodiment. So I'm still getting the emanation of it through a dialogue, but the embodiment is the one holy source. And it just gets even greater and greater from there. And so we just move through phases. So I witnessed that. And then what became very familiar for me, which I found really exciting, was I'd like people that had sebaceous cysts and things that were like under the skin that really couldn't be operated on, or they'd play with it and they'd create scar tissue. My favorite thing to do after that, and I realized how potent it was bringing the cyst to the top and popping it like a volcano. That was fun. I used to enjoy doing that. And most people are like sick, but I guarantee you go to YouTube and most people, I guarantee 100% of people, they won't admit it. It's in the closet, but they like watching people pick a blackhead or
pop a pimple.
It's just a curiosity. It happens, man. And so that was something that was fundamental. So what was a tipping point was that. And then I was like, oh my goodness. And it went into 7 days of every thought, every feeling, every emotion at once. That was the whirlwind that I experienced after that moment where Latsu had basically dragged me into this experience of being an observer of this whole thing, right? And so the next phase was he kind of stepped out of the way for 7 days, where I'm like, I would have liked a little bit more tutelage. Oh no, you have to experience. I woke up literally the day after. I woke up and everything was coming at me. Like I could see everything. And it was 100 miles an hour. It was a whirlwind. So my emanation of auric field was a clear bubble. And I was bouncing off other people's auric fields everywhere I went. And they would be like, holy crap. They could feel it. They could sense it. They could see it.
Yeah.
And so I was bouncing off them. Information was coming in everywhere. I look at them and I'd be given every thought, feeling, and emotion in form. Instantaneously, I could read them like a book in a fraction of a second. And all this information was coming in and I was experiencing it viscerally, somatically. And so on top of that, I've got all this information coming in. I'm feeling all this stuff and I can't stop it. I'd close my eyes, open it, it got even stronger. I'd try and pretend to distort it when I had my eyes closed to pretend that I couldn't see anything. And the strength got even stronger and stronger and stronger to a point where I thought I was going to explode. By the third day of going to sleep and waking up to this stuff, thinking my only rest was sleep. The second I went to sleep, it got even stronger. I had nowhere to hide. By the third day, I was like, I need to just kill myself. I've done what all my friends have done. This must be some type of curse.
Right.
And I'm like, where is Latsu while this is happening? Like, I thought I had this great mentor, and he had I'm just taking a coffee. I'm just having a cigarette break.
He had to let you do that, though. He had to.
So it's like, Pamela, this is like nuts. So I was at a point where, what do I do to distract myself? I couldn't get the physical teacher on the phone because rotary phones, if someone's not there, they're not picking up. So it was almost like this perfect storm where he's just not available. Lutz is not available. You have to experience all this shit for yourself, and you have to have it now. And I think it would be attributed for a new spiritual, new age version of a dark night of the soul. Mm-hmm. That's how they would refer to it as. Mm-hmm. And so everything happening at once. Mm-hmm. And so you literally, I could walk in and transmute anything at will, no matter however I wanted to do it. And I mean, it's now controlled to a point where I'm not attempting to try and manipulate things because I don't need to. It literally just happens instantaneously. As you detach and attach, you're actualized. So every thought that you're having is being determined as an alteration of the material. This is an alteration. It's not like I have to sit here and go, oh, I am the I am. I am something outside of who I am, because there's no title. There's no such thing, because you are everything and nothing at the same time. It's what we refer to as the great bellows. And so at the end of that, I came out of the storm that was absolutely distorting. I would distract myself, for example, at the time, I had this one person that had these bunions on their feet, and it was so crazy. Everything's coming at me, and they're like, you just look like someone who's on a bender of some type of mind-altering drug, and you just can't get. I'm like, I can't get out of it. I'm like sweating. I'm like convulsing, involuntary, like spontaneous, like I just look like I'm having epileptic fits. And so I'd go into the movies looking to distract me, and I'd see a naked woman on the screen, and I threw up. I would throw up. It was like a complete purging. It's like, how is that even relevant? A naked body. It doesn't make any sense. Yet it would have a spontaneous purging. So while that was happening, I think it was on the 4th or 5th day of a 7-day roller coaster ride. This ended with I was just starting to I'd get people, and I'd just be like, well, what is it that you want to experience? It's like, I want to lose weight. And I just put my hands on their waist, and their waist would start to shrink. I'd grab their foot, and they'd have a bunion, and their bunion would just melt under my hands, and it would just disappear. And I was like, sure, that's fantastic. Right now, I'm having a shit show. Like, you wouldn't believe. This is super exciting, but I don't know whether it is. I need something to distract me. Now, you get to certain phases of your own conditioning where this is exciting, this hands-on stuff. I almost immediately stopped the hands-on, and just after that, it was just, you start to become aware that in tune with the fabric, things are instantly altered. The probabilities change. And so you get fascinated on your journey. You should always be fascinated and excited with this curiosity, but don't fixate on one point, because then all the other potentials will start to diminish. And that's where people get inverted. They're like, they stick with, I am the channeler, I am the medium, I am the healer, and that distorts the material. That's where you will find diminished returns. And then what most people end up doing that find me want to reinvent what they thought was an actualized event, like I am Brahman, I am cosmic consciousness. They have arrived, And then when I get them to build the foundational pieces that are necessary to fortify the alchemical process, to use this avatar as a grounding rod for your spirit. And that's really how you really get down with the get down, is when you fortify that, all this magical stuff happens. And then every sense that you could think of becomes actualized and balanced at the same level. Instead of being, oh, my superpower is clairvoyance or mediumship or channeling. No, everything comes on. And that's kind of like what happened to me 30 plus years ago. Mm-hmm. And then you make sense of it. I made sense of it through the alchemical process of Taoist alchemy. And of course, I made sense of it with my teacher firsthand. But then he felt it necessary for me to reunite myself as a Taoist alchemist that I've done 1,000 times. I've been a Taoist priest 1,000 times. And, not only that, I've been a Buddhist priest and a Catholic priest. And it goes on. But we are everything. This is the thing where people get fixated. It's like, oh, I need to be of the light. If you don't recognize that the light and darkness are two of the same, that's that symbiosis, that symbiotic tango that we have within a material world that comes from one stream. That's the wholly unified stream. And it's like I had this conversation with one of my dear friends, Gary Haskins. I don't know whether you've ever heard of him. He has a podcast. I should definitely have you get on his podcast. And so he's very, very evolved in his own path of cultivating. And he has so many interesting people that come on his podcast. And we were having this conversation. And I said, the holiness as holiness, as whole. And he went, holy moly, this is the first time I recognized holy as whole.
Oh my gosh.
I separated it.
Wow.
Yeah. And you just got the epiphany too. It's like, oh, yes. Amen to that. Thank you so much. Have another. And then you have that, because so many people refer to it as certain sort of spiritual or religious conditioning.
Yeah.
It's, you are whole.
Yeah.
And that's the epiphany, the drop. Yeah.
Ever since you started talking about the foot, there's like, I feel this, I don't know how to explain what it is. I could feel like my heart is connected to you. We're always connected because I always feel the vibration going back and forth. But my heart has this like feeling.
You are lit up like a Christmas tree.
It's interesting.
Just as we're both feeling the same thing. Mm-hmm. And, I put on you both of us are like, hey, we just had like, woo, I'm on it.
Everybody.
Yes, officer, I can walk a straight line.
No, thank you, Mr. Officer. That's what I used to joke. Listen, we're going to have, this is part 1 with you. This is the longest time I've ever talked to anyone, which is amazing. And it just went by like that. So we're going to have to pick up and do a part 2. And we will, I know exactly where we're going to start again. Oh, it's probably 2, 3, and 4, and 5. But whatever it is, it's part 2 is the next one, to hear the next part of the story, because it's incredible. Your journey is incredible. Your detail is incredible. The experiences are incredible. What you just said it's wonderful for me to hear you use terms and words and ways of thinking and being that I feel and I express. And I don't know if everyone understands that. Pinpointing or pigeonholing yourself into a label, into one expression of who you are, when they all turn on at the same time, and you're navigating and you're trying to understand them. And now I'm working in a way where they said I don't need to know what it's called. I just need to lean in, and lean in. And it's like a discovery process. It's all that's new, and it's all, I don't even know what it is that I'm doing, but I'm experiencing it real time. And that's the coolest thing. And so I loved hearing all of this. And I love how you speak. You crack me up. You're just so real. Getting down to get down. That's it's me. That's how I speak. So will you come back and do part 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6? Okay, cool.
Of course. You and I are family. It's
totally.
We're going to spend more time hanging out. It doesn't have to be in front of a camera. It just is. It's
I got
hard.
bunions, baby. I'm only joking. To say it. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
And one day we'll be together in person because I totally see it. I do. I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone who's listening, you'll be back for the second part of this ride. I know that everyone's going to enjoy this so much, Sam. So thank you.
Well, I'm very,
Until we
very
finish it.
grateful. Well, I'm very grateful for you. And,
You're welcome.
I'm at one with
Mm,
peace. I'm at one with myself.
yeah.
And we are unified.
Yeah.
We are. And so, we're going to be going back and forth between podcasts. You're going to be back on my.
Yeah, back and forth. I swear to God, because I don't know, has anyone interviewed you in this way with such a level of detail? I guess they have, but
Yeah, but
your
this is the
community.
most. Yeah, this is the most detail that I've ever gone into because
Yeah.
you get to a point where they only have so much time, and so
Yeah.
I could sit or I gloss over certain things. This is the most detail that
Yeah.
I've to my own journey and really getting people to understand. So in lots of cases, in most of my interviews, I will edit things out because you don't have the time.
Right.
And
We're going to have the time.
yeah.
Yeah. As you're sharing it with me, I'm thinking to myself, has your community even heard every detail of this? And it's like, it's beautiful for them to hear as well. Because I know that my community likes to hear all the nuggets, each step, because there's so many freaking steps and they're
Yeah.
all important and they all show how vulnerable you were and how you had to go through. Like to hear that man say, you're not the guy to be here or whatever because of how you looked, your physicality. You didn't look like a spiritualist or whatever. But
Right.
then to witness the information you received about this person who was teaching you, I mean, that in itself is like, that's a moment where you had to push through to whatever was next, but you were in discovery, baby, and it was all showing itself to you and so amazing. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, we keep looking and we keep moving forward and we keep getting down to get down because that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your contribution is unlimited.
Yeah, totally.
What you're giving back to humanity, society,
Yeah.
whole, and this is what people need. They need more of this.
Hmm.
It's just never enough.
No, I agree.
And this is just part of what we do. It just ends with there is an ending. Well, within Taoism, there's this what we call the trilogy. It's the creation, the completion, and then the rebirth.
Mm.
It always comes in that cycle.
Hmm.
The Trinity, the trilogy, and this is happening all the time.
Hmm.
You can dip into any form or point of that and be actualized. And that's part of the mastery. That's part of the alchemy. That's part of the excitement of being that Jedi in training.
So cool. It's so cool. It really just is. Just in the last couple days, everything has shifted again, and I'm like, holy shit! I'm different than I was, and I mean it. Like my thought is different, my confidence is different, but I'm talking about my spiritual abilities, the energy that I am harnessing, and the way that it's working, and I'm like, damn, you don't know that that's coming in 2 days later or whatever, because I should know by now because they told me.
No.
But you more and more.
The more excitement, and you bring it back down to the childlike, whimsical
Yeah.
giddiness that comes with Christmas morning. That's all you need. You don't have
Yeah.
to be a stoic wisdom tuning fork.
Right.
That's part of it. But I mean, the more you get whimsical, the more you get giddy.
Yeah.
That never leaves you. When someone, dries up, the old expression, the honeymoon is over. It's
Yeah.
generally someone who's misguided and really has not truly met their own potential and recognizing anything is repeatable. Anything can arrive at that magical moment. First time I
ever saw your face.
Oh, yeah.
But this is what I hear. I mean, do you want to hear what is in my head? Get down, get down. It's no. It's Cool in the Gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you get into for me, a lot of people always reference, I love all the pop culture and the movie quotes and everything. I mean, we could get to, and some people get a little rough around. I've had some really big spiritual guests that have cemented and fortified their persona.
Yeah.
And they'll have this huge, like massive prophecy. And then I'll end it with, and I also use the prophet, white snake. Is this love that I'm feeling? And then they just get so twisted.
They don't know what to do with that.
But it's still the same messaging. It's like, is this what I'm really looking for?
Mm-hmm.
And you find that there's different variables. They're all different iterations of self.
Totally.
And it doesn't have to come in a stoic, like tuning fork monotone, like prophecy of what will come as the evolution of man or the destruction of man.
Yeah.
You can find it anywhere.
I totally dig it. I get it. That's how I feel too.
And it does. It's like who's that prophet from the 80s? His name was Joey Bag of Donuts. He sung a song that was the soundtrack to one of my favorite coming of age movies, The Karate Kid. The song was very simple. You are the best around. Nothing's going to ever bring you down. Great soundtrack. You get into the 80s soundtracks, you're going to be shocked. But I mean, this is where you and I, your tuning fork, the second you emanate the stuff that's mind melting and it melts my eyebrows and everything is just, I'm just swimming in it. And then you harness it and concentrate it even more through the voice. This is the energy, ladies and gentlemen. They need to recognize that this is a real thing. This is not some sort of like random event. When energy meets, it will alter everything in the material. That's what
totally. This happens.
All the time. So in essence, we have to do part 2, 5, 7, 20. We do. We're just going to go back and forth with
for sure. Yeah.
So very excited.
Yeah. Me too. I'm going to say thanking everybody for joining us today, and stay tuned for the next one. I hope today's episode sparked insights for you on your healing journey. If you're searching for support and connection, you should join our community at spirit-calling.com. Spirit Calling is a like-minded community of spiritual individuals learning, sharing, and growing together every day. No matter what you're experiencing in your journey, you'll find resources and a community to support you along the way. Until next time, keep listening to your internal guidance and stepping into your spirit's call.